So you're given a chord chart. You want to play a good, solid, feel-good bass line. You know a little bit about how chords are structured, but those three-note triads just aren't interesting enough for this particular piece of music. What do? Stick around. That's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. Hi, I'm John Liebman. Welcome to part 2 of this special two-part version of The Essence of Groove right here at ForBassPlayersOnly.com. Now, last week we talked about how to play a good bass line over a chord chart, and we kept it pretty simple. If you didn't get a chance to see that one, you can go look at it now, or you can look at it when we're done. Basically, what we said was we want to get the shape of a major scale under our fingers, under your fingers. So that's the first thing you need to remember. In this example, we happen to be playing an A major scale. And we worked on going through the scale and playing a three-note chord, a triad, starting with each of the notes in an A major scale. And we went through a bunch of major and minor triads, etc. And I told you last week we were going to take that a little bit further. It's going to really open things up for you. Remember, we said chords are built in thirds. So a triad, judging from the name, you can tell three, it's a three-note chord. But we want to expand that now, and we want to play the sevenths of those chords. Remember, again, we said chords are built in thirds. So once we play our three-note triad, and we want to play another note in that same chord, we want to play something that is a third higher of that third note in the chord. Remember also, I said, we may break a little rule here and there. That's why I'm hesitating before I play the next note. If we're playing in A major, and we know the shape of the scale, we know the notes that are in the A major scale, and we know that chords are built in thirds, the next note technically would be a G sharp, because that's the next note that we'd play. We'd skip over the F sharp, we would go to the next one, G sharp. And that's cool. There's a place for that. You know, Chicago, Color My World. But in most contexts, that's a hard word to say, your ear would go, well, what was that? So in this case, here's the rule we're going to break. Even though technically we're playing in the key of A, which has a G sharp in it, it's not uncommon for you to see an A7 chord, which means we're going to play a G natural. And I think our ears are accustomed to hearing that sound much more in pop and in rock and in blues and in jazz. You know, we want to hear instead of in this context. So you could say we're breaking a rule. We're going to play the G natural instead of the G sharp. We're still building the chord in thirds. We're just going to play a minor third on top instead of a major third. Most of the other times, like we did last week, we're going to stay within the notes in an A major scale. So the second note in our A major scale is B. So we played a B minor triad. Remember, we said we're going to leapfrog over the next note in the scale and play the one after that. So we're going to play the third, in this case a minor third. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to skip this E and we're going to play this F sharp. So that is our B minor triad. And if we want to take it one step further, like we are in this lesson, we go up a third. So we're going to skip the G sharp, or even if it were the G natural, we're going to skip that note and we're going to play the seventh of that chord, which is up a minor third. That's the A. So that will give you another color tone, something that will make your bass line more interesting when you get down and you start really grooving. Same thing with the next note, C sharp. We're going to play our C sharp triad. I'm sorry, C sharp minor triad. And then if we want to add the 7th, we skip the A and we go right to the B, which is the 7th of C sharp. Now, one more time, we're going to break a little rule again. We're going to move up to the D, and we're going to play our D major triad. Now, instead of playing the C sharp, which is in the key, we're going to play a C natural, which is not in the key. Same thing, we want to hear and not. And the rest are pretty much the same. The next, where are we here? Now we're going to play an E7 chord. Here we actually are going to play the G sharp, the major third. And then we're going to add the D, the 7th. And then I'm going to scoot up 2 frets here, because we're going to go a little bit higher, and I need that fret on the G string. F sharp minor 7. Now, remember last time I told you what a diminished chord is, a diminished triad. So we're starting on the G sharp, and we're playing the B, and then we're playing a D. And like I also said, you're likely not going to be playing that chord too often, a diminished chord, and if you're playing a pop tune or a wedding or a jazz gig or whatever. But here, if we want to play the 7th, remember chords are built in thirds, so we want to go up another third. We're going to skip over this E, and we're going to play actually an F sharp. And the reason that's a little different is because that is not a fully diminished chord. It's actually called half diminished, because we're taking our diminished triad, minor third, then we're playing a major third. And then we're back to the A. And we could play the G natural, or in this case, if you want to give it a little more finality sound, you can play the A natural, the octave. So. So now you have another note in each chord to play with, and it's only 1 note per chord, but it adds up and it really does make a difference. So make sure you watch, like I said before, the other lesson from last week. That'll give you a little more grounding in what we're talking about. Get that, even if you've watched it, you might want to review it, watch it again, so you know the shapes of the scales. Again, it's not just A, but that works for all the scales up and down because of the consistency and the symmetry. And now add the 7th, keeping in mind that we're going to build our chords in thirds. And the 2 exceptions, even though they're still thirds, they are minor thirds instead of major thirds, because that's the sound that we're going for. So let me know your experience. You can really come up with some fun grooves and some fun bass lines, whether you're playing rock or R&B or funk or jazz or blues or anything at all. Share your experience. Let me know how you make out. I love hearing from you, and I really am enjoying getting so many comments from these videos. And remember, I've got all kinds of tips and advice for learning bass, so be sure to subscribe to this channel. And in the meantime, I'll see you right back here, same time, same place, next week for another edition of The Essence of Groove, right here at ForBassPlayersOnly.com. I'm John Liebman. Let's play bass.